Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, we shall be looking briefly at Kamala Harris's debt. She ran a campaign of in excess of $1.2 billion, yet she is $20 million in debt. So we're looking at Kamala Harris's $20 million debt. That's something very interesting that she could have done, right? That her campaign managers and advisors could have done, her finance advisors to be exact. Because, $1 billion is a lot of money, right? We can say that many of us would like even to have a million of that 1 billion that she had, right? So when we think of that enormity, the enormity of the funds that she was actually running her campaign with, it is unthinkable, particularly to working and middle class people. People in the upper echelon of society, they will understand that. To them, that's normal. For us, that is an insane amount of money to run, and her campaign lasted for how many weeks? Maybe for 9 weeks, I don't know. 12 weeks, let us say 12 weeks or 16 weeks, I'm not sure. I think she started in July. So we would have July, August, September, October. So just about 4 months. Yeah. So she ran her campaign with over $1 billion, in excess of $1 billion, yet she's $20 billion in debt. 20 million, not 20 billion, but $20 million in debt. Now, that is something that we have to look at, because it is not something that we have to also look at her ability to manage funds. And as somebody on TikTok says, how could we trust a presidential candidate to run a country and she does not even know how to manage her campaign in terms of, conserving and being very careful, being economical, right? The word is, yeah, she needs to learn how to be economical, how to manage her funds. She says that she comes from a middle class where her mother struggled to have bought a house and stuff like that. So shouldn't she be aware of the struggles of working and middle class people out there? Because so often we talk about the working class, but we've got to also speak about the middle class, because many middle class people now are now working class people, right? They can barely afford the cost of living in the United States and around the world at large. But let us here look at there is a news report coming from Newsweek, and it says here, is Kamala Harris not paying staff after running out of money? What we know. Claims have circulated online that Kamala Harris is not paying staffers after her campaign found itself 20 million in debt. $20 million. Assertions that the campaign is in debt appear to be true according to multiple reports, although Newsweek was unable to independently verify the reported figure of debt. However, there is no evidence to support claims that staffers are not being paid. That I would find to be very absurd, right? That the staffers have not been paid when they are the ones who are working, and you have speculations out there that people like the M&Ms he worked for, was it 25K per second that he got? I understand that he was getting $25,000 per second for just showing up at Kamala Harris's rallies, or one of her rallies. And you have the Beyonce, understand she got $10 million. Well, her song was being used. That would have been copyrighted, and I think she showed up at one of the rallies, and that was in Texas. So she got $10 million out of that $1.2 billion. These are celebrities right now, right? So one self-described staffer for the Harris Tim Ward's campaign, Marcus Vasufich, took to X, formerly Twitter, to debunk the allegation. And he says here, that is the Marcus is saying here, Harris Ward's staffer here. We are still on staff. We get paid on the 15th, and we have 2 weeks of severance. Stop spreading misinformation. Now, it's interesting that he's saying that they are still getting paid. Now, if the campaign is in debt, then how are they going to still be paid? Right? How do they know? Well, maybe they have taken some sort of review of they've done some review of their account, and they are seeing that they might be $20 million in debt after having paid the staffers and the people who participated, perhaps. But that's interesting. His clarification was in response to a viral post by a self-described political commentator account on X, which claimed, and I quote, former Harris Ward staffers now unemployed are reporting that they did not receive their last 2 weeks of pay, which was scheduled for direct deposit into their accounts yesterday. Right? So Harris's campaign had raised a little over $1 billion by October 16th, according to the Federal Election Commission. One of the things that is very interesting to note, and maybe in a subsequent video, I will unmask that. Who are these people's supporters? Who supported their campaigns, both Donald Trump's and also Harris's? Now, that's something that we have to go and research for ourselves, because at the end of the day, the people did not win. The donors are the ones who win when we see these things happen, right? That the donors, their sponsors who sponsor their elections, they're the ones who generally win. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones whose policies the president has to put his imprint on, his signature on, because they have given them a lot of money. And with money comes attachments, right? And that is what happens there. Don't believe that these people are sponsoring you because they love you and they love Americans and they, let's make America great again, or we're not going back, right? They don't care. They don't care about Americans, right? They care about their pockets. They care about their investments. They care about their future plans and how they're planning to increase the amount of money that they're spending there. Now, we have here in another, the economics, right? I think this is the economics, the Telegraph, rather, the Telegraph. We have here, nobody dares admit that America is leading. No, I don't think that's what I was looking for. But there was another article I had up here. Sometimes you come here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is coming from the Economic Times, right? I know that I had something from the Economic Times. It says that from over 1 billion in funds to more than 20 million in debt, how Team Kamala Harris messed up campaign finances. And we have Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign team is reportedly facing a 20 million debt, despite having raised over $1 billion and holding a reported 118 million in funds as recently as October 16th. The campaign is reportedly struggling to cover staff and vendor payments. Reports reveal that the Harris campaign paid millions to celebrities to support her campaign. So she paid millions to celebrities. According to the Washington Examiner, Harris paid Oprah Winfrey's Harper Productions $1 million on October 15th. So these people are not going out there. The Oprah Winfrey's and the Barack Obamas, they're not going out there just to speak and because they want to save America's democracy. They're going out there to make money. They are out there to make money and to enrich themselves. Now, if you think that's a moral deed, if you think these people are so important that they deserve what they have said, because what did they say that was so inspiring? What did Barack Obama say? Or what did Michelle Obama say that was so inspiring or cemented people in the truth about the realities of the American political landscape? What did they say that should have secured them millions of dollars? You tell me, what is so important about them? But you, the people, you, the citizens, have made them that important because you love them. They are your idols. And because you have these American idols, then with idols come lots of money. And then you have reposed your trust and your confidence in these people who do not mean you well, right? They only mean their pockets well. And if you should know some of what these celebrities are involved in, we just, focus on the P. Diddy's, but we don't know that a lot of whom you are seeing, you are looking at, and seeing on the platform, some of them have been with Diddy also. They have been at some of Diddy's parties and have participated in some of the lewd and obscene activities that perhaps would be unimaginable to many of us. We would not even begin to think about doing these things or participating in these things. But these, your idols, your celebrities are involved in these things because that is how the world is run. So she has, outspent her campaign. Meanwhile, reports claimed that the Harris campaign invested heavily in media appearances, spending six figures to build a set for an interview on the popular Call Her Daddy podcast with host Alex Cooper. So he got what? She spent six figures to build a set. This interview, filmed in a Washington, D.C. hotel room, was released in October, right? So she spent all of that money to do an interview in a hotel room. And most of Kamala's interviews were very shallow, right? And made no sense. They were below standard. Yet still she invested so much money because it's all about the delusion of grandeur. She had this delusion about herself and that she was going to become the first female president because her mother told her that she should be the first but not the last. Right? And because she had, secured the whole matter of becoming a prosecutor and attorney general and the first or second female president, or senator, not president, but senator, and the first female vice president, she thought that the ticket had already been given to her. Because that is how she ran her campaign, because Harris did not really run an effective campaign. And to have had so much money at her disposal, not to have contracted the best speech writers, the best people who can make ads and to give you the vibes, because she was about hope and joy, right? Hope and joy and the hope economy, the opportunity economy. That's not the hope economy, but the opportunity economy. But she was about joy and hope. Hope in the Lord, right? And she had nothing of substance to say to her constituents. Absolutely nothing apart from abortion and wars, more wars. But two things that arrested my attention while she was on the platform. I thought she would win because, as I said, having access to so much money, I wonder how they would not have been able to rig. But perhaps they weren't able to rig the elections this time. Or the elites, who work in unison might have said, we allow Donald Trump to win. Because all of this is, again, at the end of the day, it's not Donald Trump that wins, it's elites, right? Whether it's BlackRock or the big wigs in America, the big money donors in America. They're the ones who are winning the show. And I'm going to show you an article very shortly. But the fact of the matter is that she found herself, I think there was a time when she was supposed to have met with Netanyahu, along with Donald Trump, and Kamala found herself at one of her Divine Nine parties, right? One of the parties that they were having. I don't know if it was AK party or, one of those Divine Nine parties that she attended instead of going to sit down and discuss, how this whole matter of the war in Gaza would or should have been dealt with. Another time was when she was supposed to have shown up at the Catholic meeting there, where, just before the elections are held, normally the candidates meet with the Catholic, what do you call it? I don't even remember what the bishop, whatever, of New York. And she did not meet there. And these people are powerful people. Make no bones about it. And even Trump is on the platform now that he has won by saying that he's going to promote the Catholic faith because the Catholic Church believes in freedom. Right? And he is going to, because he regards the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church, I think, through their charities, contributed to his campaign. When I saw that he was the only candidate there and Kamala did not attend that event, I was wondering if that they knew what was going to happen already. That thought came to my mind when it happened, but I said, it's interesting. That was interesting that Trump alone attended the meeting and Kamala was not present. And with the strength, with the stronghold that the Catholic Church wields over US politics, people don't understand it. And if you want to know, go and look at what percentage of the Supreme Court is Catholic in a so-called predominantly Protestant nation. Go and look at it for yourself, and you will see, and you'll understand that a nation speaks through her laws. The laws that are made, which are crafted, are the ones which tell the pulse of the nation or identify the nation and its creed, its belief systems. So the United States suggests that she is a Protestant nation, was founded on Protestant ideologies and creed and belief systems, and yet still she has a Supreme Court which is largely made up of Catholic judges. That should really rock you to let you know that the Catholic Church is no ordinary church in the United States of America. And if you should read the book by, I think she's Whitney, not Brittany, but Whitney Webb. And she spoke about the name of her book has just now eluded me. The book that she wrote, One Nation Under something, One Nation Under, I can't remember the name of her book, but let me see if I could find it here. Then you will see the strong influence, the indomitable influence that the Catholic Church wields over US politics. Okay, so One Nation Under Blackmail. That was it. One Nation Under Blackmail. Go and read that book. Still written in 2 tomes, in 2 volumes. You will see that the Catholic Church has a very indomitable, formidable influence, I should say, over US politics, more than you and I can imagine. But if you should read the prophecy, also the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation, you'll see that that is what's going to happen eventually. That this so-called Protestant nation is going to speak like the dragon, is going to speak like the beast, which was before her, which was the Roman Catholic papacy. So nothing is really, should take you by surprise if you understand history and prophecy together. Now, one of the things that is that's interesting are the allegations also swirling around the internet that Elon Musk, who was also once a Democrat and became a Republican, just like Trump was once a Democrat and became Republican, because the elites can change hands, right, at any given moment. Because at the end of the day, as I'm suggesting to you, it's not about you, it's about the elites, right? It's about the plutocrats. It's a nation for, of, and by the plutocrats and the elites. So when you're thinking who won for whom? Who won for the other side of the plutocrats? That is what you should be asking, not who won in terms of winning for the people, in terms of championing the rights and the cause of the American population and the world at large, because America is an empire. In fact, there was a podcast, I can't remember, I'm not going to take his credit for what he says, but as when the day after the election, he was saying the candidate who won, which of course is Donald Trump, is America's choice, is America's emperor of the American empire. He is the emperor of the world, right? Because America is a global empire. And no matter where you are, maybe in North Korea, it has not yet taken full influence over that country, and in countries like Iran. But there are, I think, 3 countries or 4 countries that the US has not yet gotten full sway over. But for the large majority of countries in the world, whether you're in the Caribbean or you're in Asia or you're in Africa, the US runs the show, right? This is an empire. This is a global empire. And the Bible is right that she is going to cause all the world to wander after the beast. One of the things about people who study prophecy, however, we think that this is just going to happen overnight. This is a process. Es un proceso. It's a process. And it's going to take some time for it to reach there, but it's on its way. So politically, economically, religiously, you have to look at the different phases of this image to the beast, causing all the world to wander after the beast. And when you look at the economics through the IMF and the World Bank and other financial institutions, you realize that the United States does or imposes economic policies on nations, and they have to follow it. If they don't follow it, she is going to use her military to depose whatever government is in power at the time. Right? So this should be no sort of surprise that one day the United States is going to operate in a religious manner, in which she is going to command the entire world to wander after the beast. Because if she's commanding the entire world to wander after the IMF, to wander after the World Bank and other financial institutions, and to wander after some cultural values, the value systems of the world also, people are following what America says. Whatever trends are set in America, that is what the world is following. So, of course, the world is already brainwashed into American ideology, whether it's be secular or religious. And when she turns the tide and become a religious hegemon, when America turns the side and becomes a religious hegemon, the entire world is already brainwashed, is already programmed. That's the word. It's already programmed to wander after this beast. Right? She's not a democracy. She's not running after the world because she means the world well. She's going after the world because she needs to control the resources that when she is about to dispense her religious mandate, she will not be questioned or cannot be questioned. I mean, even if you want to question her, you are going to be punished. You're going to be castigated for doing so. Right? So it's not Trump who won. Well, he won. And his elites, the elites that backed him, the economic donors that backed him. It's not the people. And we're praying that God will hold back some of the winds of strife so that at least we can get some freedom and a breather, because we need some breathing space. Right now, under the Democratic Party, that was something immensely terrible with the censorship by the Democratic Party. And I'm on YouTube and I feel it, the censorship. And I feel it. It's gripping me every day, the censorship. And they send messages to you about, click rate is up. Sometimes my click rate is way over there, and yet my views are very low. Right? It doesn't make any sense. Your click rate can't be up, because normally when my click rate is up, my views are up. They're saying now, okay, your audience is not very big. Even when it's a very important, hot topic. That's what they're doing. So please like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform, because very soon our voices are going to be silenced. Right now, we hope that Trump, so that God can get his word to people, will sort of undo what the Democrats have done in terms of censorship, because they were really passing their places. But it's going to come back. Whatever laws were made, whatever executive laws were passed during the Democratic reign, during the Democratic administration, they will come back to power one day. They will eventually come back to power, right? But it's interesting to me that the people who should have been getting some of that money and, making some industries and all of that stuff, you have these multimillionaires such as the Beyoncés and the Oprah Winfreys. They were the ones getting the money, right? They were the ones who were getting the money. Now, this is what a paper here is saying. I think it's coming from the Telegraph, the UK Telegraph. It says, nobody dares admit that America is heading for a debt disaster. Let me share my screen with you to read that, because America is on a quest. And yet still, we have a political candidate like Kamala Harris, who was saying that she was for the people and the opportunity economy. She was able to spend over $1 billion in campaigning, which something, and her campaign was stupidity. Now, we have the US needs another Ronald Reagan, not yet more spending financed through borrow or tax rises. So we have the 2024 fiscal year just ended in Washington, and federal spending reached a record of more than $6.8 trillion. That's nearly twice as much as Washington spent just 10 years earlier, a staggering expansion in the burden of government, $6.8 trillion. And sometimes I do wonder, when we say these BlackRock and all of these powerful organizations, these corporations that sponsor these government, you really wonder if they're the ones sponsoring them, or, secretly, they are taking money from us. They're taking money from the taxpayers. We don't know, right? Because the incumbent government would have that sort of power to do that. Maybe the opposition, no. But the incumbent government has the ability to really conceal from its constituents, from the people, what it's doing and how it's financing its budget. They do that. And you really wonder sometimes who is going to pay at the end of the day for this debt that Kamala Harris racked up, right? Who is going to really pay the consequences for that stupidity? But, the citizens don't care. The ones who are Democrats, they don't care. They just wanted their Democratic Party to win. Now, some fiscal restraint is desperately needed, but that will not happen anytime soon. Both major presidential candidates are proposing to spend more money, according to a new report from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and that is a CRFB. The CRFB estimates that Donald Trump wants about $1 trillion more spending over the next 10 years, and that Kamala Harris wants about $4 trillion of additional spending. Right? So that's interesting. Keep in mind that all of this new spending is in addition to the spending increases that already are part of the baseline. To be more specific, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that the burden of federal spending will climb to more than $10.3 trillion by 2034 if government is left on autopilot. Right? So they're spending and they're telling you that they're about to give you lots of things and your students' loan forgiveness, right? But who is paying for it? You, the taxpayer, is paying for it. So the government is pretending as if they're doing you something nice. I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about the Democratic Party not being the party of the working class. And he disagreed. He thinks that they're not so. Evidently, they're trying to help the working class, but that's not true. But his understanding of working class means, and helping the government, helping is that government is forgiving some students' loan. And while that might be to some extent true, right? Because there's some truth, there's some veracity to it. We checked it and we saw that the government was helping some millions of 3 or 4 million students in terms of forgiving their debt. But who is going to pay for it? That was the question that is being asked. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for the debt, the $20 million debt that Kamala Harris campaign find herself in? At the moment, and this is true, I understand that Kamala is seeking to have a recount of the elections. She thinks that there are allegations that Trump, and his buddy Elon Musk were involved in cheating the election because somehow Elon Musk's Starlink was used to compile the votes. And I understand, I'm not sure how true that is, but there are also rumors swirling on the internet as well that Elon Musk knew, somebody asked him 4 hours before the election. He said 4 hours before the election that he knew who was going to win the election, so he could stop watching because he knew he had already known the results of the election. How could you? 4 hours before the votes came in, before the results rather of the votes came in, not 4 hours before the votes came in, but 4 hours before the results of the votes came in. He said that he already knew who was going to win. Now, is he a psychic? I'm not sure. But something is interesting there. And the person that he saw said was going to win won. Now, that could be that he has a good perception, and maybe he does. But that's also interesting that he knew that. But there are indeed rumors swirling on the internet that he might have conditioned his Starlink software for Trump in terms of in favor of Trump. We don't know if that is true. But whatever the cost is, that there are elites and they are working together. Why do I say they are working together? There is an article here. Why is this here? And I want to get this article here on the screen for you guys. You know, sometimes when you're trying to get the thing, some of these pop-ups are coming and I can't get it now. Let me see. Wow. There's a thing coming here preventing me from showing you what I wanted to close. Okay, right. Okay, now this is the article I wanted. It's coming from the Economic Times Industry. First, I've ever seen this paper, but let me see if I can sign in. Let me see if I can make the screen bigger so that you can see what I'm reading. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you right now for you to see. And this is coming from the Economic Times Industry. So industry. So let's go and see where we're going to head. All of these pop-ups and blah. So we have Trump's victory may give Starlink and Amazon leverage for India SATCOM push. Notice here, Starlink and Amazon. Now, we got the impression about a week or two ago, just before the elections were held, that Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of the Washington Post, and also he is the owner and CEO of Amazon, he was suggesting that his paper, the Washington Post, could no longer, 2 weeks before the elections were held, could no longer support or endorse a candidate for the presidency because that's not the moral thing to do. That's not the ethical thing to do. Right? Now, the Washington Post for years, well, I would think for years, I wouldn't say for decades, but perhaps for 2 or more decades have been supporting the Democratic Party. Right? So why at this final moment, the final lap, just before the election was held, that Jeff Bezos, the president, the CEO of Amazon, the owner of Amazon, the entrepreneur, whatever you want to call him, and of the Washington Post, was actually saying that he's not, did he know something that we don't know? That's the question I'm asking. Did he know that Donald Trump was going to win as a result of that? And he knew about the business deal that they had, because now we have Starlink and Amazon. So you'd think that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are enemies, are political enemies. And they might act as political enemies to deceive you. And you think so, and you say Trump has won, and I'm not going to vote for Trump because of who Trump is. But at the end of the day, these guys are still together because they're in business companionship, right? So we have Elon Musk's Starlink and Amazon Kuiper. Is it Kuiper? May get more leverage for their planned satellite internet operations in India with the return of Donald Trump as the US president. Trump is well known for his proximity to Musk. Right? I hope you're getting it. So you're seeing this push now for, what is Cupid? Let me pronounce it correctly, or Kuiper. Yeah, I think that's what it was called, and Starlink. So we have Kuiper and Starlink. Well, Starlink, that is Elon Musk, Starlink and Amazon Kuiper or Kuiper. So they will be getting business from Donald Trump. So whether you are on the Democratic side or you are on the Republican side, these elites are still working. They are collaborating together. And you've got to get that in your cranium and stop thinking that these people are enemies, and you have become enemies. In fact, I'm understanding that some Americans say that they will not go to Thanksgiving service of their family members who voted for Trump, and probably vice versa. I don't know. It's more the Democratic Party saying that because they are in the losing side, on the losing side, right? So they want to disassociate themselves from family members because of a personality, a political personality. We are living in grand and awful times. Because people, Americans can behave like that, behave like children, squabbling over some hot cake with no brains, right? Because Trump and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, should probably are going to have Thanksgiving together. The paper, the Washington Post, that supposedly was anti-Trump and talking everything for Trump to lose, and he's a fascist and he's a Nazi and all of the things that they could have, all of the words that they could have hurled at him, right? The unfavorable words that could have helped to have damaged his campaign, right? They will be having, perhaps, I'm not saying that they will, but perhaps they will be having Thanksgiving together to further discuss their plans for Starlink to take over. That's Elon Musk, Starlink, and Amazon's Jeff Bezos Kuiper, right? We've got to wake up. We've got to wake up. And whether it's Kamala who won, which he didn't win, or Donald Trump who won, which he legitimately, which he won. We don't know if he won legitimately, but based on what we're seeing, that is what they say. Whether or not Starlink was used to rig the election possibility, well, we don't know. We can't prove that, so we shall not say that on this channel. Until there's evidence, on this channel, we do not, propagate rumors, and we do not endorse the diffusion of rumors on the internet, but we can't ignore them. We ought to look at these allegations, have them at the back of our minds, do further research, and if we connect the dots, then we can say that that is true. But if the dots cannot be connected, then we leave it alone and we accept that which is the so-called reality. Not that we believe it 100%, because if we do, we're stupid, we're not critical thinkers, but we just simply go with the flow until the information, because you are not guilty until you're proven guilty, right? You are not guilty until somebody proves you guilty. So that is what we are suggesting that you do. Now, what are some of the lessons that the Caribbean can learn from this recent Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump's election? I think I should leave that for another video, right? I don't want to make this video lengthy, make this video long, so let me leave that for another video. What are some of the lessons that Jamaica and the Caribbean can learn from this presidential election? If I get here over 1,000, I should say, or 2,000, give me 2,000 views and make at least 200 likes, and then I'll make that video. If not, then I won't make that video, because you're prodding me based on what you want me to produce, what the videos that you want me to make, that YouTube will publish, right? If you don't give me the headlight, then I can't do the video because I'm wasting my time. You're wasting my time and I'm wasting yours, right? All the best to you. I hope that you will have a fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you. Remember now to like and to share the videos. All the best to you. Bye.